Hello to my subscribers, hello to the lurkers. Whoever you are, I'm glad you're here. Everyone is welcome, lurking and subscribing alike. I am back in front of the camera to talk about a few quick things, and I also have a fun announcement at the end, so I hope you'll stick around for that. But before we get to the announcement, there's a few things to chat about. First, I recently posted on my Write All Along Instagram, which I would love if you gave me a follow over there at write_all_along. And I had updated the about page of the Write All Along Substack. And that was in an effort to be more of a reflection about what I'm actually going to be doing from here on out. I am much clearer on my goals at this point in my life, and I now am committing to a more strategic, creative nonfiction writing practice. If you read my last piece, which I hope you'll go give it a read if you haven't, I talked about how I'm writing pieces that I'm not publishing through my Substack. I'm writing these pieces and submitting them to literary magazines in hopes of getting published there. So I went ahead and reworked my about page because the types of things that I'm writing now are different from what I set out to do when I first started, and there's some reasons behind that. So if you feel like giving a read to my about page, that will make a little bit more sense. But if not, then just know that it's still a lot of the same in that I'm writing about my life, but it's with a heavier literary angle in that I'm trying to improve my writing and hopefully get published. So if you read my last Substack post, you'll know that not only am I submitting for literary magazines, but I am becoming well acquainted with the type of rejection that comes along with submitting to these magazines. And of course, rejection is an incredibly human experience. And in the piece, I touch on a couple other ways that I have been rejected in the last year. And something funny actually happened. I had planned to get in front of the camera and record this, and I got an email. I had just finished teaching and I was coming home to sit in front of the camera as I'm doing right now, and I got an email back from one of the magazines that I had submitted a piece to, and I'll bet you can guess what it was. It was a rejection. What I've learned through this process is you come to expect the rejection and you hope for the acceptance. Most of the time, though, you're going to get rejected. They accept a very small number of pieces, and you got to have both luck and talent mixing together in the perfect moment to make it in. And I'm hopeful for one day, but for now, I'm weathering rejection, getting comfortable with rejection. But I received the one today, and who knows? I don't know what's in the air. It hurt. Okay, I felt this one. It was prickly, and I was mad and frustrated, and I wasn't going to sit and record this. So I was moving everything back into its place. I had cleared the spot to put my camera up. I was moving everything back into its place, and something fell out onto the floor. Several things fell out, but one thing was very obvious to me. And what it was is this story here. The Chair of Rejection by Stacy Richter. I read this in grad school. It was actually in my literary editing and publishing class. It was among a bunch of papers from graduate school. I reference material from grad school all the time while I'm teaching. I'm teaching right now. I'm at the end of my spring semester. And so it makes sense that it was on my desk, but it's just funny how it fell out, and it was the thing that was looking directly at me. And the story from Stacy's experience, it's creative nonfiction, which she wrote about how she was receiving a lot of rejections from literary magazines, and the piece was written in 2010, and submissions were done through traditional mail, through the post office, so you'd receive a paper rejection in the mail. It's mostly done online now. But what she did was she started pasting the rejections to a chair, and she made what she came to call the Chair of Rejection. And her friends started chatting about it, and word traveled about the chair. She got covered by local news, and it became a little thing where people would go to sit, and it was a laugh, but they would sit there when they felt, as she put it, pathetic and rejected. And assuming a lot of her friends are creatives, literary folk in that field, in this field, you do experience quite a bit of rejection. So the chair became this own character in her life. So when I picked the piece up from the floor and I was scanning it, my eyes snagged on a paragraph of which I will share with you now. It took a while, but eventually everyone I knew, no matter how smart or talented or pretty or fortunate, sat in the chair. There was something mystical about this. We all sit in the chair. I knew this, but metaphors are just words that zing around in your head. Until you actually sit in the chair of rejection, until you actually see everyone you know sitting in the chair of rejection, you don't really know that someday everyone must take their seat. I was learning this. The chair was teaching me. So, beautiful metaphor she didn't even know she was creating while she was creating it. But it's true that everyone must sit in the chair of rejection. And that's just part of this process. And as any creative will attest to, when you have a desire to create, to write, or whatever it is that your creative calling is, it basically holds you hostage. I've said to people before, one of my greatest afflictions in my life is my desire to be a writer because it's just chaotic, confusing, and of course laced with quite a bit of rejection if you put yourself out there. Putting yourself out there means that you are going to be rejected at times, a lot of times too. So just remembering that the rejection is a part of it all. It's a part of the process, part of life, of course, but also part of the creative process. So I'm trying to embrace that as part of the creative process so that I can keep moving forward. If I treat it as part of the process, I'll keep putting one foot in front of the other. That brings me to my announcement. So my announcement is part of that creative process and is part of putting one foot in front of the other. And that is going to be in the form of a writers group that I am creating here online. It is going to be over Zoom. It's going to be an hour twice a month. And I'm probably calling it the Creative Accountability Hour under the Write All Along umbrella. And we're going to get on Zoom and spend one concentrated hour working on our writing projects. You can also free write. You can also free write with the intention of staying in the lane of a specific creative project, or you could write about anything you want. I'm gonna cover the details later once I have it fine-tuned, but I wanted to put it in your brains now, and I hope that people that are here who also want to be writers, who also love writing, will want to be a part of this and see it as an opportunity to dedicate two measly hours out of your month where we all come together on Zoom. Microphones are muted, your camera can be on or off, and we will spend that time writing uninterrupted and then have an opportunity to share for a few minutes what we've written, maybe get some words of encouragement from other participants or some useful feedback. I'm a big believer in workshopping and feedback. So please keep an eye out for other announcements that I will make regarding that. And I do hope that I will see you in my Zoom where we can write together and hopefully move our projects forward, because life gets insane. It's hard enough keeping up with life and then also making time to focus on the creative stuff that's really important to me and that feels like it's really connected to who I am and what I want out of life and what I want to share. So keep an eye out for that, and I do hope to see you there eventually. I'm so grateful that you're here listening, watching, reading. I do have a piece coming out soon. Gotta find that time to write it. I'm working on something that I'm going to publish through Write All Along, because of course I'm working on stuff that I can't publish through Write All Along because I'm submitting it to literary magazines. You can't pre-publish work that you submit to most magazines. So maybe one day we'll have a chat about what it is to submit to literary magazines, and I can share with you what I know, but we'll save that convo for another day. And let me just close by saying again how grateful I am for everyone that's here listening. I will see you next time.